I would like to hereby, with great pleasure, introduce you to each one, just their names, and if you, the audience, would love to welcome them with an enthusiastic round of applause. I'm going to start with California's own Rod Rotundi, Mimi Kirk, Marcus Rothkrantz, Dr. Elizabeth Lambaer, and myself, now coming down also as a panelist.
So along with everything that they've been saying, I'm 54. Actually, I'll be 54 in March. And what I'm really interested is the expansion of the human potential. I'm not interested in longevity because I don't really care to be here if it's not, like Marcus is saying, really fun, really sexy, and really juicy and delicious. I love this concept of living foods because it literally nourishes the cells of our bodies. I'm an athlete, so I'm interested in proving that when you guys see me and I see you next year, that we are all younger, literally stronger, deeper, richer, wiser, more flexible, more radiant, more beautiful, sexier, more delicious and juicy in every single way. So that's what I'm up to in the world.
And she's a living embodiment of that. And the next question is, what inspired you to go raw vegan? And how has eating raw vegan organic foods improved your health?
So for me, I come from an Italian background, and I, unlike most people who find raw food, like Marcus was saying, because they were in a state of dis-ease, I was always just really interested in this concept, ever since I was a little kid, of how food could nourish us. And when I would, I remember sitting at the dinner table, and I was 8, and lasagna was like the appetizer. There was like pastas and manigotas. I mean, it's just like all of this food, and I was like, why are we feeding us this food that's not nourishing us? It's like afterwards I felt lethargic. I didn't feel energetic. I didn't feel alive. I didn't feel good. It wasn't nourishing me. So I set on a quest to discover what would nourish me. And what's interesting about my background is I'm an athlete. So I really had a hard time, and I know maybe some of you feel like this now, or did before. I had a hard time with giving up the protein sources. I could eat the living foods and all of that, but for me it was this concept of how am I going to be able to get my protein so I can go to the gym and work out and dance and do all the things that I do physically. And I did a fast, and after that my third eye, my pineal gland, popped wide open, and the birdies and the chickens and everything. I had given up beef a long time ago, but I couldn't eat them because they were talking to me, literally communicating with me and saying, please don't eat me anymore. And I was like, I'm going to have something else. And so why I did it is because it has given me way more energy, way more enthusiasm for life, way more clairvoyance, and all the other, like Marcus was saying, you literally get younger, your skin glows, and you're more radiant and more enthusiastic about everything about life. So.
Beautiful. Thank you all. Our next question is, what do you recommend eating for raw vegan-friendly people on the go?
I agree with what all they're saying, and what I want to just parlay on is what Marcus just said, which is when you start eating foods that have not been cooked over 118 degrees, they are nutrient dense. You don't need a lot of food. Everybody here, I'll start out my morning with green juice, and then after that I'll make a smoothie, and I'll take that with me to the gym, and I work out for several hours in the gym every single day. I'm not hungry when I leave. I am so nourished by that. And then there are very creative ways. One of the things I want people to know about living foods, and I like to use the word living foods, not raw food, is because people think I'm going to hand them a carrot stick and a celery stick and say, have a nice day or have a nice meal. And it really isn't that. Rod has an outstanding restaurant right here in Los Angeles with delicious food. I'm banging on his door several times a week saying, hey, feed me, please. And there's so many delicious options all over the place for living foods. And so just start. I would say start with drinking it. For me, if you can put so many nutrients into a smoothie, and what you're going to notice is the cells of your body will just start tingling. That's what happened for me. I was like, oh, I'm really onto something because I feel so much energy. And I already had a lot of energy, you know, before I started Living Foods, but it just took it to the next level. So I would say just start with a green smoothie in the morning and just see how that makes you feel. And please have the smoothie before you try the coffee. If anybody here is a coffee drinker, it's so much better. You will not want that cup of coffee once you have a green drink in your body. So,
Thank you. What's the basis of a healthy raw vegan diet and why?
Along with what other panelists said, I remember one time I spoke with Mimi, and one of the things she said is, and this has happened to me as well, and I was a dessert freak. I mean, before I really started eating healthy, when I was a little kid, my idea of heaven was rows and rows of desserts, not raw desserts, but like cakes and cookies, and like I was such a sweet tooth. And so Mimi, I remember one time Mimi said, I'm addicted to greens. And before I would have started a Living Foods diet, I would have thought, addicted to greens, like really? But it's true, and what happens is that when we detox our bodies from these processed foods, I like to say every day eat something that's been kissed by the sun and not tampered with by human hands. Put living foods into a living body to nourish it the way it's meant to be nourished. And so when you start with the green drink in the morning, and what I do is I'll mix the greens with some fruit, and you're getting the greens that way. Or you make a green juice and you can put some ginger in it, and it's just, your body will start craving it, and before you know it, you will be eliminating the processed food, eliminating the sugars, eliminating the bad oils, eliminating all that, and you'll be eating more and more living foods. Your body will naturally make that transition as you put more living foods and more green foods into your body. And you will, but if you took this on, if you're not already, by next year you'll come to us and you'll say, oh my God, I'm addicted to greens. I thought you were crazy, Dr. Elizabeth, when you said this, but truly, a year later, I'm addicted to greens.
There's one thing I wanted to add real quick. When you pick a leaf, put it on the table and watch what happens within the first hour or two. You watch it literally die in front of you. It just goes limp. You got to eat your food as close to the moment of picking as possible, because the stuff you buy in the store, it's probably been picked a week or two ago, and it's got preservatives and God knows what on it. It's been watered with city water that's got fluoride and chlorine in it. Try to grow your own food or eat wild foods and eat it as close to the moment of picking as possible, because that's where the life is. That's why it's called living food.
Great point.
Indeed.
Can I just add one thing, because that made me think of something? If it doesn't die like that, and it has preservatives, and it lasts forever, don't eat it. I mean, if it has a date on it, forget about it. I mean, it's a good thing when something curls up and dies, because this other food you could leave out forever and it'll look like that, 4 years later. Someone's carrying around a hamburger from McDonald's. It looks exactly the same as it did when they bought it. So that's preservatives in food.
Indeed. If we'd like to live a fresh lifestyle, we must eat fresh food to have fresh thoughts, a fresh perspective, yes? What is a common mistake that we sometimes make on the raw food path? And what can we do to avoid this?
So yes, detoxing is really important, because when you put that nourishing food in your body, if your body's clogged up, it's not going to. So you want to flush out detoxing. And really detoxing also, detox mentally, detox emotionally, and also detox physically. For me, one of the biggest pitfalls I see is people will go from a standard American diet, which we call a SAD diet, to they'll start eating living foods, and they'll feel terrible, and they'll go, I knew this didn't work, this doesn't work, and they'll give up. And the reason they feel terrible is because they're detoxing. But people don't know this. Most people don't know, okay, if I've been on the standard American diet, I've been eating meat and potatoes and all sorts of cooked food, that when you make that transition, there's a detox period. Your body is going to go through a detox. Some of these panel members, like myself, went straight raw. I mean, for me, when I found it, I was like, this is like the holy grail. I was so excited to find food that nourished my body so brilliantly. So I went raw right away. But like Mimi said, you don't have to. Start with the green juice in the morning. It's going to exponentially have you to eat more things that are healthy and more things. So it starts this cycle of expansion into more living foods, and just really surrender to the detox process. And as much as possible, if something's in our body physically, there's an emotional aspect to it, so do the detoxing emotionally as well. and so we'll talk a little bit more of that later.